This conference will now be recorded.
Special meeting to discuss our 24-25 budget. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, guys, we ready? Okay. We're moving on to public comment. Any public comments related to the budget discussion? I'm apologizing in advance. Something's in my throat. Good thing I'm not going to start talking after this. We're going to move on to item number 4, business. Mr. Vincent?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Town Council and residents and staff. Sorry. So if you go to your packet that has the agenda to it and go back 6 pages, I wanted to kind of go through that first. I do want to say that we received some questions from council at the last workshop, and we've got some other questions that have been sent to staff in the last week, but wanted to go through, I know Mr. Coleman had asked for the cost of what a COLA is, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, what that will cost towards the budget. There were some questions regarding, what Social Security cost of living adjustments have been in the last 3 years versus what the town has been giving.
Mr. Vincent, I don't think it's page 6.
It's maybe 7, it's right after questions in the budget. Well, I'm sorry, it's pages, not
Slide number?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So maybe 12.
Okay,
There you go.
got it. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Thank you.
The 7th page. Yeah. So you'll see the cost of, what the cost is to our budget for 1% through 5%. Again, going through what Social Security cost of living adjustments have been for the last 3 years. There's been an average increase of 5.9%. And what ServSAT has done as far as cost of living adjustments is 4.7%. So we're less than what Social Security is given, but we've been averaging 4.7%. And then you'll see the millage history from fiscal year 12 all the way to fiscal year 24. So, some 10 plus years ago, we were at 40 mills. Halfway through those 10 years, we're at 46.2 mills, and then now we're at 43 mills. Pages following that, I just wanted you to see what the cities and counties are doing around us. So the first page indicates Myrtle Beach. So Myrtle Beach has made some significant increases in pay for their police officers and their employees. 7,500 for certified officers, 7,000 for paramedics, and then $5,000 adjustment for all other staff. The town of Conway has increased their budget by $1.7 million to give increases to their departments and their public safety officers. And they're actually increasing their millage by 10 mills. Horry County is basically given a 4% cost of living raise and a 4% market adjustment. And then you can see where North Myrtle Beach is actually increasing their millage by 3, from 45 to 48. And they're actually giving an additional cost increase to their certified officers and 5% on March the 11th. So you see their adjustments all around us. And they even indicated that they're waiting to see what Myrtle Beach and Horry County do because they have a contingency to even increase their salaries even more. So I just wanted you to know that within the region, there's a lot of increases going on for public safety officers and staff. Following that page of those articles, Tabitha just got word that our cost for our apparel, town apparel, is increasing. So that's the reason why we had to go through and just adjust our numbers accordingly when it comes down to merchandise. Any questions there?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shaw.
I did a little bit of homework with, the paper with Myrtle Beach City Council approval. This was a case study, and yes, the first responders definitely got the cost of living raise, but this was not across the board. They hit a certain amount if they were making, they did not get the COLA.
Yeah,
A flat adjustment.
yeah, they did a flat adjustment.
All other employees got 5,000.
Right. So I just want to bring that up, that it wasn't across the board, definitely first responders,
Yes.
but there were some people that did not get it. They made over a certain amount and they did not get the COLA. Yes, you are correct, they got a flat fee, but they did not get the COLA. Like I'm talking, a high level in like the director of water and the water department like ours. They didn't get it. And second thing I want to bring up, because I was the one that brought, I don't even know. Second thing I brought up was the Social Security thing. I want everybody to realize, yes, they did get adjustments, but I looked into this and I was absolutely shocked that most people on Social Security do not clear $2,000, even in a 2-income Social Security retirement home. So when you look at their cost of living rates, it's minor, absolutely minor. To compare it to somebody that's already making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, get a 5% COLA. There's a big difference there. So I want everybody to realize that just because Social Security has it, it doesn't mean they got a lot of money out of it. The average person makes under $2,000 a month. So I want that to be known. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Vincent? All right, you want to just proceed?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, we'll start, we'll start through the slide presentation based on questions and comments from the last one.
So at the last workshop, we were given the direction to go forward with the 4 mil increase and the difference to come from hospitality to cover the 7 firefighters and 5 part-time firefighters. So the total cost for that is $665,930. So we're covering that with 4 mils and the rest from hospitality. During that period too, we were asked to go back and see if we could make any reductions. So the general fund, all the departments came together and we have reduced general fund by $105,000. And over in the hospitality fund, we are going with the enterprise leasing for police, so that saves $111,000 there. And the fire chief came to me and said he'd like to hold off on the purchase of that reserve pumper for a future year and get a vehicle for the new fire investigator, which is part of these 7 firefighters. The increase in hospitality for the transfer to the general fund to cover all this is $217,974. And then the last little change we had was on the pier fund where we found out the property insurance is going up a little bit, or from what we originally thought.
And let me just say this, with the fire vehicle, if we go with the enterprise leasing program, we won't be spending $6,000, it'll be about $6,900 to lease. So there'll be a cost savings there as well.
Next, I wanted to show you which departments and where we did for $105,000. So we were asked to cut from uniforms and from awards and gifts.
Mr. Mayor, sorry,
Okay.
you're on the line item, and I just wanted to ask you about it. Could you define again for us what awards and gifts are?
An administrator's budget it was for like retiree, and both of them actually, events, there might have been, let me see, events, awards and gifts. Under Tabitha's, I think it was for plaques. I think we left a little bit in for retirees. Like when you leave, you get a plaque.
Right,
Under Jerry's, it was for the gift cards for Thanksgiving.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to discuss that line item, but you wanted to let her go through everything and then we go back and go through it again?
Why don't we go through this slide at least?
Okay.
And then,
And let me say, Mr. Coleman found it, we missed it, under administration, there's like $2,400 that was for mailing out of the quarterlies. But Tabitha had a better number in hers, because that was one of the things we moved to the budget, so we missed that one. So there's $2,400 sitting in that budget right now that could be reallocated to something else.
so I guess while we're talking about awards and gifts, what is still left? And
Okay. Okay, retiree plaques only in Tabitha's in the events budget. And then, under employee and special recognition, certificates and plaques, whatever, we left $500. Yeah, I'm sorry, we left $1,000 in Jerry's.
for service awards, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Well.
Before making a motion, I think so, yes. Yeah. If that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's get through this slide. And then,
It'll get far.
that's okay, this slide. This slide, let's just get through the pluses and minuses here. Go ahead.
So 500 was cut from the uniforms and administration, the awards and gifts. We did find out that the ICMA due went up 70, it was more than we thought, it was $70 more. In finance budget, I cut out 250 for uniforms. I found out that our subscription software for Harris is going up, we got our new contract a little bit. So that went up, and I took out one of the office, reconfigurations, they're gonna try to do it this year instead. But that was one-time money, so that was kind of a swap. Facilities, we took out 500 in uniforms. Police, we took out 3,000 in uniforms, 14,000 in travel and training. 2,000 out of communications, which was for we got rid of phone and communications. We removed one line for the captain position, and we removed 2 lines for the frozen positions that we have. And then there was a hotline with a hotspot, that was the captain, and we removed that. Okay, and then dues and subscription went down $115, and then the K-9 expenses was for 2, but I don't think there's a plan to do 2, so we kept it at 1, so we took out half of that. Building and zoning, got 1,000 in uniforms, grounds 500 in uniforms. Special events, took out 500 in uniforms, took out all of travel and training, took out the 30,000 for fireworks, took out 8,200 for December events. Seasonal events did go up because some stuff was moved around to a better line item to make more sense. The unplanned events, we took out 12,000. Special events, 14, and the awards and gifts, so we took out 1,800 and left enough for, I think, like 4 or 5 retirement plans. And under non-departmental, we took out 5,000 additional for the facade grant. And then fire did travel and training, they took out 2,000. Communications, we got rid of a couple of phones and iPads, so it's 3,780. And took out 500 in awards and gifts. And that was for, that's where they do their firefighter of the year, officer of the year, and volunteer awards. So they only left 125 there.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to show you again, so the cost of the personnel was $655 and $10,000 for their uniforms. And there was a question like, why didn't I have to use as much hospitality money? So, let me use this. So I've handed out this slide to you guys, so it's kind of, so you can see it a little easier. So that's what the cost was. The 4 mills will give us 336. We did budget reductions of 105,000. And the additional transfer from hospitality is 217. And what we also did was I took out that desk, but we were looking at it and we were talking about that generator for emergencies. So really that should be from one-time money because we may or may not have to do it. And it could be reimbursable by FEMA too. So we changed the revenue source for that from the use of fund balance. So that brings us back to 0.
All right, I guess before any motions, are there any other questions on the numbers that Director Gruber just went through?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
I'm all confused. The first time you gave it to us, scenario 1, they had the 7 firefighters and 5 part-time. It says use 8 mills or 4 mills and use 336.
Yes,
So now it's changed, right? Now we
correct,
say,
because we cut $105,000 out of the budget. So that helped reduce what we needed to use from hospitality. So that's the breakdown of what we're using to come up with that additional, the 336.
because the new paper you gave us, it says 4 mills and 665.
And then reduce the 336.
That 665 is what it costs for the 5 firefighters, the 7 firefighters and the 5 part-time. So that's your expense.
So Melanie, go back to the first page.
Oh. Hold on. Okay, $665, $930 is what it costs to bring those people on. We are using $336,000 as what 4 mills will bring in. We cut the budget in other areas, $105,156. So that, where we were going to be using 336 hospitality, now only have to use 217 because we made those cuts. And I'm using a little bit more of fund balance for that one-time item. So therefore that gave us not having to use 336 of hospitality, we were going to cut it back a little bit.
Okay, because the page you gave us, I don't know if you used anyone else, but it says with 4 mills and hospitality fund for 665. You're
Yes,
saying,
I meant that, yeah, it should have been 665 was the cost of those firefighters.
I understand on
Yeah,
that page.
yeah, that's why I was, after you had that question, I was like, let me make a slide to show that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Kinkin, I want to talk about the reserve pumper. If we're not buying it this year, I understand that. But $500,000 is a lot of money to stick in 1 year's budget. Shouldn't we start setting money aside for it if we're going to have to buy it?
Hold that thought.
Okay, thank you.
Get you there.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Stanton, if we just go ahead and raise this 6 mills instead of the 4 mills, would we have all these cuts and necessary cuts that need to be done? Instead of just going, since we're needing the money for other things, you know, we get into cutting a $30 gift certificate for here and there and this other stuff. Can we just not go up to 6 mills and take care of everything?
If you raise it to 6 mils, that would give you another $168,000.
Would that not take care of the $105,000 that you're deducting from general funds from Mr. Vincent? Would that not take care of some of this stuff? And then we'd have a little money to hire a policeman or something else in that budget? If we could just,
Yeah,
instead of staying at the 4 mills, go to 6 mills? We'd have a little extra money instead of being on the verge of everybody thinking the town's broke. And if, from what I understand from all the people I've talked to, they don't seem to mind it. They don't seem to be having a big problem with raising their millage rate if we're gonna spend it on things that need to be done. And it seems to be that we need firefighters and police officers here in town. So why don't we just go to 6 mills and be done with it?
that's,
And that might be for you, Jerry, or anybody can answer that question. Why don't we do that?
So we can. I mean, it's up to the council to give us that direction. We absolutely can. It just means less hospitality.
Well, it seems to be that we piggybacked off the employees and our staff to take out this money. It ain't doing no other good except piggybacking off of these people who work hard and we need in this town to run this town. You look around to every town around us, that's what they're doing. They're looking after their employees. Surfside is not doing that whatsoever. We go in and cut anything we need to cut. We cut off the employees, the people who provide services and protect us and comes out and puts out your fire or whatever it needs to be done in this town. That's the people that we seem to be jumping on and cutting their salaries and or not wanting to give them something. Why can't we just go on up to six mills and try to take care of stuff? I mean, it bothers me I've talked to several employees who seem that this $30 gift card that we're trying to take away seems to be a big deal. $30 don't mean a whole lot, but it does to some people. And here we are sitting as council. Maybe we need to cut council's salary a little bit. Take some of our money and pay these people. We don't get paid nothing anyway. Take some of it back. I'm willing to give up some of mine. If the rest of them wants to. But I respect the employees of this town. I have no problem going up to 6 million. I can pay it. But it makes me so mad and so aggravated that to set these 7 people up here and we try to go through a budget and get it balanced, but we piggyback off the employee. Nobody else, we intentionally go after employees to make it harder on them. So I'm asking the question, why can't we go up to 6 mills and pay for it? Mr. Cracklaw.
Well, I would just like to say, we're not really taking it away from the employees. If we took away some COLA, that would be taking it away from employees, which if you went down to 3% COLA, you're saving over 100,000, actually, over 100,000, over what we saved from the nitpicking, from the fireworks and whatnot. I'm not saying that we should do it, but I think it's something that should be looked at, and we should actually have a step pay plan that then it's not up to the COLA and a big discussion every year. It would be, you're gonna get this much of a raise, and then COLA kicks in if there really is like this year. There should be some COLA this year because everything went up. But the town is not immune from that, so we need to raise taxes. But we also need to be looking at the future and being sustainable. And if our wages continue to go up 5% every year. In 3 years, that adds another million plus to our budget. 5 years, it's another 2 million. So I won't be up here discussing it, but other people will be up here saying, we're in trouble because we have to be competitive. Well, we are not competitive as far as what we bring in either. We have a small land mass that brings in, I don't know what it brings in. I do, but off the top of my head, I don't know. And we're never going to be able to compete with Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Horry County. Horry County is almost the size of New Jersey. And so they've got a lot more money to deal with. And I don't know, there's not an easy answer, but I do think that we will need to raise taxes, but at the same time, we need to cut some costs. And I think cutting them and then putting them back in the budget, I think we cut them and see how things go. That's my opinion.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shawn?
when I look at this budget, I look across. As far as the town, is there a problem?
No.
Okay. You say, some people say I can afford it, and there's other people that cannot afford it. They cannot afford it. We have people here on Social Security. I'm all about budgeting for our first responders. They're the ones that run towards danger. Others run away, but not our first responders. I'm 100% for the responders. But I think there are places where we should cut, which has been done very well here. Uniforms. People that are buying a Nike shirt and having name brand shirts and wearing them around town. That's unnecessary. Having luncheons for employees, yes, but not at thousands of dollars. We have people that go to food bank that live in our town that can't participate in these. I really get upset when I heard the word free. It's not free. Somebody's taxes is paying for these things. And you talk about gift cards, I can't imagine that a $25 or $50 gift card would make a difference when I ask we have 31 employees under $50,000. 31. I can't imagine what the other salaries are. So I think we have to walk very cautiously. We need the uniforms and the awards. We need to be careful of how much we spend and how it looks for a 2-mile town. So yes, I am for these cuts when it comes to uniforms. I think it's crazy that some people, besides the people that work every day, Public Works, the facilities, police department, fire department, where they're wearing their uniforms constantly. But if you notice, I'm never going to wear the town council shirt again. In fact, I'm writing a check for the 3 things I got. Because I think it's an embarrassment that we spend that much money. When you add all this up from department to department, how much we're spending in uniforms, it's a sin. It's my comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
looking at this chart here, the general fund changes, there's no money coming out of any employee's pocket. Awards and gifts is about $5,000. If you take that, we still have $100,000 in savings here. It's money that we don't have to spend. It has nothing to do with employees. You cut their uniform allowance, they're not getting uniform allowance, they're getting uniforms. They can go a couple more months with the same uniform they have. The last chief got up here and said, oh, we have to buy duty belts. I'll tell you what, come over to my house, I'll show you my duty belt. It's 43 years old. It's not changed that often. So I think we got into too much into prior years of just handing out uniforms like they were free. It's not. I'd rather give raises across the board to the police officers and firefighters. That's what's important to them. Having a brand new, spanking new uniform every 3 months doesn't do anything for me. You know, raises are a much better thing, a step program, much better thing, a clear career path, much better thing. And if we're using awards and gifts for people who retired, I don't remember anybody other than the sanitation worker who just retired. I can't remember anyone else who stayed here long enough to retire. There's a problem in this town, why people don't stay. One of them is money. You don't give people here enough money to work. And that's what we should be concerned about, not parties and gift certificates and all the other minutiae that we do. You know, I don't care about a little Christmas party if I couldn't feed my family. I really couldn't. Give me a fair competitive wage against everyone else in this area. We don't do that. We're thinking about little trinkets when people need dollars in their pocket. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kincaid.
if I read this right, our hospitality fund is gonna, after we deduct.
Yeah, you want me to finish going through the presentation?
Sure.
Okay. This slide is just to show you where we started and where we are now. This is the general fund, so we started at property tax 3.8, and with the 4 mills, it'll go to 4.2. And then you'll see the slight change in the reserve use of fund balance at the bottom. And then I just wanted to show you again this, so out of the general fund, and this is across probably every business and definitely across every municipality, the majority of your budget is your people. So 67.5% of the budget is for personal services. And 30% is for operations. And less than 2% for capital. Now, the hospitality fund, so we don't, not changing our revenue projection, but we are going down our capital expense, and we are going up a little bit on our transfer out because that's going to general fund. So here is the changes that we made. Police is going to try out the enterprise lease program, so that saves us $111,000. And then fire has asked that we hold off on the pumper and get a vehicle for the new employee inspector instead. Then we're doing additional transfer of $217,974 to the general fund. The difference is all going to the fund balance reserve, so in the future, those monies will be there for that, for those apparatuses.
I guess before you move on there, I believe Mr. Vincent said that well, first of all, the 490 is saving 550 for not getting the.
Taking 550 out, putting 60 in for
Putting
a
60 in
truck or whatever.
for the new hire fire
Correct.
inspector. But Mr. Vincent said that also could be part of the leasing program. Which
Yeah, and if
makes
they can,
sense.
and then more can go to fund balance reserve.
So I would think that should be the mainstream proposal. Okay. So this would then become 550. 490 would go to 550, and then the leasing.
Yeah, I personally would at least be on one vehicle, you think?
I think it was like 6,900.
So, yeah, so 550 minus 6,900.
Right, okay.
Right.
But then it becomes part of, actually, the 111 goes up by almost 7,000. It's not just police.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so that becomes almost 118, and the other goes back to 550. The way I would see it, anyway.
Well,
I'm crossing lines,
balancing,
police and
yeah,
fire.
you gotta balance
Okay.
the, so
All right.
basically 383 is
I'll
going
let you
right
do the
now to
account.
reserve. It would be 60,000 minus the 60, whatever the lease payment is. would go to
53 more,
reserve.
53 and
So
change.
it'd probably take us a little over 400,000 to reserve.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Shine?
Oh, I think if my memory is correct though, the additional inspector would actually bring in money. Because we're gonna charge for the inspections.
Do you want to move into that part right
Or-
now, or
If you want to
we-
go,
I mean,
however you want to do it?
just tell me when it's appropriate.
I don't know, I'm asking them, I want them to, it looks like they're ready to do it this way.
For the fire inspection, that is something that we're looking at doing. It would have to be passed by council, and we could then go ahead and it would most likely even pay for the fire inspector position and probably give us a little bit extra money as well.
And I believe you gave us. some-
That is for the billing for motor vehicle accidents and structure fire calls.
Okay, okay.
And that ordinance is already passed. That's just the packet that, it's a third-party company that they go after the insurance and collect it and take a certain percentage off the collection, and then the rest comes back to the town.
Mr. Peckwell?
Is it really necessary to hire a second person? I know that we
Yes.
can't get through them and it through all the inspections in a year, but do we have to inspect every year?
Well, that person actually holds two parts in a job. They're also a firefighter as well as a fire inspector.
Okay.
So during the day, they're doing fire inspections. When a call comes out, they jump as the second person onto the truck.
So they're rolled into part of this 7 firefighters?
They are part of the seven,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason though, I'm sorry. I
No,
have
go ahead.
more.
Go ahead.
Is there a reason we can't use the command vehicle? I guess I read, I was on vacation for the last week, so I kind of read emails. But it seems like I read that the reason was there wasn't a place to store firefighter, the helmet and whatever. Can we reconfigure it?
We can reconfigure the chief's vehicle. That's what
I
I was
mean,
looking at,
But
but we're still gonna need another
we
vehicle.
need another vehicle. Okay. All right.
Any other questions on the,
Mr. Mayor,
okay?
in the fire department, have we taken any of your monies for bunker gear or any safety equipment?
Yes, that's part of our uniform budget, is our bunker gear and stuff like that is also put into that.
Right, so
And we
you're
did
getting,
order
you're
some
getting the
sets,
same
correct.
amount, actually you're getting more.
Correct,
New
we
fire
actually, I think we up to $10,000 to apply for the 7, the 5 part-time.
I just want everyone to know that we're not taking away essential equipment.
And the average bunker gear set cost us roughly $4,500 a set.
Anything else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stamey?
We did take away training from you, some money from training.
We took $2,000 out of it.
Is that not something that we took away from the firefighters?
Right now, I think we have $8,000 left over in our thing, so that's why we cut it a little bit as well as that, but that's something I would like to look at in the future.
But originally, we had $10,000 in that budget for you to train firefighters, which this may be one event you might not be able to send them to for training, right?
Correct.
So we did cut something out of your budget for the personnel that we have here in town.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do you want to go, is it back to you, or? Thank you.
And lastly, the peer fund, this is just showing where we had to add a little bit in for to cover that insurance, health insurance increase of $5,110. And then I've added in here the sample tax calculation again, just so you would have that again. So 4 mills on a $250,000 home costs $40.
So Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
that's a month, right? Oh, no, that's a
No,
year.
That's a year.
that's a year.
Not a month.
It's a year, so
Yeah.
Make sure we.
4 mills on a $350,000 home is
$56.
And you divide that by, simple math, it's maybe $50 a month, $5.
Yeah, 450, 450.
450 a month.
Roughly.
Right.
Oh, yeah, but
So it's $1, no, not even, I don't know. It's not much per day.
Right,
I mean, if you don't have it,
per month.
it's a lot, but for most people in the neighborhood, it shouldn't be a serious burden.
Yeah, and this, yeah, Mr. Amy had asked, so 6 mils would be for a $350,000 home, would be $84.
$7 a month.
$7 a month, about 30.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Shawn?
I have a question going back to the general fund change. Some of these deductions, some of the deductions you have here weren't actually removed, but like removed off the total savings. They were moved to other funding.
No. These are everything that needed to change in the budget.
Mhm.
So the only, when Tabitha looked at her seasonal events, we needed $2,000 there, but we cut all these others. And then, like I said, I found out the subscription software was going up and for the Harris contract. So that's why there's an addition there.
These are all real changes, sorry.
These
These
are all the real
changes
changes,
based on our input from a week
right,
or
and
10
then
days
things
ago.
that we found
Okay,
out or that we were notified of.
okay.
We're really looking at it again. Yeah, I need to make sure I have that covered.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Wallace?
as I understood it now, for clarification, there were some duplications within Tabitha's budget
Yes,
that were.
Initially,
That's-
yes.
I was with Ms.
but
Shawn.
those are all
I
out
understood that.
now,
Okay,
except for the 24 that you found.
okay.
So it sounds to me, I'm sorry, that these are, I mean, each of the department heads has looked. I believe I just heard Chief Nelson say that he still has some unused training money, which made it easier to cut, because we're not going to use all that. So that, to me, is the wise use of money. I spoke with Interim Chief Davis the other day, and he said he thought he had a little bit extra, more than he needed for training. The K-9 was 2 sessions per year, and he's cutting one of them out. So I don't think these training things, I support training very much, but I don't think these are cuts to necessary training. These are being, frugal, but wise with our training money, in my opinion. That's what it looks like to me. And if anybody wants to refute that, please let me know.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
could we have the chief come up and speak on whether this $14,000 they're cutting out of his budget for training, whether that's going to have any impact on the police force or not?
I think that'd be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Stamey. So essentially what you're asking is, will this impact our ability to train and to move forward in our mission? I will tell you that there will be some impacts, but as I told the mayor, I believe it was yesterday when we spoke, I'm trying to refocus some of what we do as far as our training. We did get quite a few people through training this year, especially with the leader classes for leadership training and development. The reason I want to do that, and I'll just tell you, is because I want to put together a succession plan so that when it comes time for me or whomever succeeds me to lead, we have someone in the department that can step up, that knows the systems, that knows the town, that is able to serve and move the department forward. That's just smart management, smart leadership, I do believe. It will impact some of those classes, but I've already begun reaching out and finding some local things like the active shooter training that we can attend. And some of our partner agencies here nearby can assist us with as well. When you're talking about with the dog, with the K-9, frankly, we have one right now, and I'm more concerned about being able to hire police officers right now than training, frankly. I still want to have some training for things that we need, and we have enough here for what the state's requirements are. We have to have somebody that goes back to the armorer school that is certified in repairing our pistols so that we don't have to send them out. That saves us a ton of money. So that's just a smart move. So I'm looking to try to do things that are frugal for us, training wise. Maybe we can, and as we go through this next 6 months, we can reevaluate maybe where some of our training needs are and some things we need to talk about in the future. I think what we've cut is we can live with. Of course, you would always want to have more training, to have opportunities to send officers to things, but as I told the mayor yesterday, I understand the position we're in as a municipality. Times are lean, and we understand that, and we'll move forward to work with what we have. So,
Mr. Mayor, let me finish up on that.
Go ahead, Mr. Stanley.
If we had raised the millage up to 6 mills, would that not be a better solution than cutting this training time down? And if you have a mass, or say we have 10 police officers to leave, just, you know, is that not gonna cut down on training and getting somebody else in here a little quicker if you ain't got the money to do it with?
well, I'm certain that it would, yes, sir. I don't know specifically, I can't tell you at what range, but I do know that having the ability, right now, my concern is, frankly, that it is going to be a challenge to hire folks. I've lost a couple. I've lost one in the last week who's going to a neighboring jurisdiction for a big old raise, and I applaud him for that. I'll miss him. He's a rock star of a police officer. But I understand that we're not in the same position as some of our neighbors, and I get that. That's kind of where we're at. Training opportunities do attract some officers. Salary, of course, attracts some officers. The type of leadership that you have in departments helps for retention and attracts officers. There's a myriad of things that, it's a formula and not just one thing, but it is a formula. So the type of equipment that folks provide as well. So you have to look at it holistically, sir.
Do you, how many officers, how many positions you got frozen in your police department right now?
There's only 2 frozen.
2 frozen right now?
Yes, sir.
And then you don't get them, will your office still be able to run fairly well?
We're going to make it happen.
That ain't answering my question. You make.
It will be difficult.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
But I can make it happen in a lot of different ways. But is that safe a way to run this office?
A safe number of officers on a shift would be 3. We will have to drop back to 2.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes, sir. And what we will have to do is we will have to implement some standalones that we have where we supplement these officers with folks from the office, and that's fine. That's fine. We're willing to do that. That's what we do. We're in the ditch, we get out of the ditch together.
Absolutely.
But didn't mean to interrupt you, sir, but
That's fine. I just wanted to get my point across that if we go ahead and raise this millage rate up to where we need it to be and get some of these things that we're trying to pinch back on, it'd make it a whole lot better than it would be trying to squirm our way out of something we get ourselves into.
I understand, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman.
so now you have a little over $14,000 in savings on travel and training.
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Vincent come into your office and tell you slash this, slash that, or did he ask the police department, what can you possibly slash? What, go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. Ms. Melanie spoke with us and gave us some thoughts on, we needed to look deep, and we did so.
So the police department made the cuts.
Yes, sir.
They asked you to see if you
Yes,
could save some money.
Yes, sir, and we had some feedback on some things that we thought we couldn't cut. She was very receptive, and as was Mr. Vincent, and this is how we came to be, sir.
According to the last sheet, when you was up at the budget meeting, he said all mandatory, or just about every single mandatory training from the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, that was free.
Well, it's not free, but it's close to free.
Okay.
There's a surcharge for classes
I
you have to take.
understand that.
And if they have space available at the academy, we can stay, they have dormitories at the academy that we can stay in with space available. I think the surcharge covers a portion of the meals and payback for that, so.
So if you got a new person who wasn't trained, didn't come from a different department, you'd still be able to get that person's trained.
We should be able to, yes, sir. We have there's a 4-week period. If they were to, sometimes we have folks that transfer in from other states. And there's a 4-week period, of course, that they would have to go through. And I think there's a surcharge for testing for that, but it's minimal. It's just not crazy.
So the majority of that money, the 14,000, is other than mandatory training. It's like FBI leader training.
Yes, sir.
Maybe for the training sergeant, you had him going to a different kind of training so that he could train people, so that they wouldn't have to go out and train. So the majority of that $14,000 is it's not mandatory. It's stuff that you'd like to get, you don't need to get, and some other time you possibly can get.
It's elective training, and yes, sir, we could revisit it at some other time and maybe reinstitute that.
I
Yes,
just want everyone to realize that officers are still gonna get trained. They're gonna get
Oh,
their
yes.
mandatory training.
yes, sir.
And if we get some new people, it's gonna be a minimal amount, and it has nothing to do with the $14,000.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kinkin,
Facade grant, we're cutting it.
do you have anything else for?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Just hold
Yeah,
that thought
okay,
for a minute.
I'll wait.
Anything else for Interim Chief Davis? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all for hearing from me. Thank you.
and then, yeah, I was gonna ask that one too, so now Mr. Kinkin, go ahead.
The facade grant, is there a balance in there? Because that's the only thing we have to carrot, to try to get some of the businesses to improve the looks of their building. And it is a matching grant, and I think it's capped at 5,000.
So we cut it from 15 to 10. So there's 2 facade grants that we can obligate.
We've only
How,
And we've only had
had
one.
one request, I don't even know if they followed through.
And the facade grant is also a one-time expense. So
Yeah.
we can always go to fund balance if we get 5 facade grants. We just have to bring it back to council.
okay, I just don't want to kill the program.
No, it was a low-hanging fruit, so instead of we had 3, we did 2.
Okay, I'll buy that. Thank you.
Any other?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
I have a question for Administrator O'Malley. So say your department puts in for like $20,000 for such and such an item, and it comes down to, they only need 10, they only use 10 of it. What happens to that money?
At the end of the fiscal year, it goes back into fund balance.
Can they use it for any other thing that they didn't ask for? So say I wanted, item A, and I put in twice as much as I need for item A. But I also want to include item B, which I know I'm not gonna get. If it's in my budget, so I have a number, say $100,000 in my budget, and I only use 90 of it, can I use it on something else that I didn't ask for?
That would depend on what they're asking for, because when they go to spend money, I look to see what was budgeted for before I say, yeah, you can spend that money. But sometimes on things you don't plan on come up. And if they say, I think I'm gonna have savings in this line item that would cover this, then we could go ahead and move that money for them to do that.
And who decides that, you or the administrator or?
Day-to-day operations would be, if they're staying within their own budget, would be up to me and the administrator. Now, if there was a huge purchase or something, that would need to come to council.
If it goes beyond their bottom line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got one more question. I don't see anywhere here it says how much it's gonna cost for the grand opening of the pier. And how much is it
That is already budgeted in current year.
in what?
It's in current year budget. It was actually budgeted in 23. And when we did the budget amendment, we rolled that money forward to 24. So it would roll forward again to next year. So that's the one-time money that's been rolling forward till the pier, till we either do that or reappropriate it for something else.
Yeah. I'll give you a minute.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
He's actually trying to remember a question. I'll give him a minute.
Okay.
So that money, can we use it for anything else if we didn't use it for, the grand opening?
You can use it for one-time items that are tourist related,
What, tourist related?
tourist related.
So could it possibly be used, that's hospitality or ATAX?
ATAX.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kinkin?
I want to point, on the general fund expense by category, personnel services are $7,362,000. Our taxes with the 4 mil increase is only $4,220,000. Our taxes do not even cover our cost of employees. And that's with the 4% increase, or the 4 mil increase. Can't do the percentage over my head, but it's maybe 60% of it. So I think citizens need to be aware of where we stand with our taxes and how it relates to our budget, because our taxes do not cover payroll costs. And that's why we're going up on them.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
I would just like to submit that also at 6%, we don't even come near covering our own rate. I'm sorry, I'm at 6 now. I'm sorry.
Any other questions for Director Gruber at this time? Do you have anything else you want to present, or? Okay, so I'm willing to entertain any motions that folks want to make.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stanley?
I'd like to make a motion that we raise millage rate up to six mills instead of the 4 mills, and try to take care of some of this stuff that we need to take care of instead of cutting back on everything and coming and going. Try to take and look at the real necessary of what it needs to pay some of these police officers, training for them, which anybody can understand that, and training for the fire department, training for even our staff in the administrative office, for training for this council right here. Believe me, I went to counseling for several years now, and I've learned a lot to learn from these meetings. So I'd like to make a motion to raise the millage to 6.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion to make our mainstream plan 6 mil increase, and we have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Krecklau?
I'll just like to reemphasize that I don't disagree with the 6%, but why put everything back if you're gonna have to start cutting it again? Because as Mr. Kinkin said, we don't really even begin to cover our cost of personnel with our taxes. And we keep wanting to raise everybody's pay, which I don't have a problem with if it's sustainable. But when you look to the future, you're just gonna have to keep raising taxes 5 or 6 mils every year in order to keep up. And we're trying to play catch up. So I think I go along with the 6 mil. It's not a popular decision, I'm sure. But I believe that we need to get a handle on it, but the way to get a handle on it is also start reducing expenses.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
6 mills is not necessarily, I want to take on Mr. Cracklow's comment of putting everything back. 6 mills will not do that. 6 mills, and we're not saying that 6 mills, it's going to take that every year, but we have gotten behind. We have not raised our taxes in so long that it's put us in a real bad position. And a one-time 6 would help us catch up. There's still going to have to be significant cuts made. I mean, a mill represents,
84,000.
okay, so we're still only talking about $168,000. That's not going to put everything back, but it will at least allow us to get some things that are extremely important that we're cutting put back into the budget and catch us up with regard to some of the shortfalls we've been overlooking for the past 7 years.
I want to clarify one point. Right now, we're debating a an increase from 4 mills to 6 in the mainstream plan. Mr. Stamey's comments were about maybe putting these things back, but that is not on the table at this point. It's just 4 mills or 6 mills.
Yes,
We will have to discuss and I'm glad, yes, Mr. Stamey's saying that is what he
Yes,
is.
that is correct. It's what I'm saying is go ahead and go up to the 6 mills and go back and look at some of these things that we can fund and can help with. Not necessarily everything. There's some things in here that I can look over and agree that needs to be cut. But there are certain things that I think we need, and we need to pay a little bit of attention to our employees. Don't just cut them out of the loophole of everything when we're doing something. It aggravates me. I used to be an employee and it bothered me when companies would come in and say, we're taking back this after we've given you this for so many years. It always bothered me. And I personally care a lot about our staff. I care a whole lot more about our staff than I do some of our staff, the managers, but that's beside the point. But I'm for staff. I'm for looking after them. The 6 mills is just to raise the millage rate.
All right, so yeah, that is the question at hand, 4 mills versus 6 mills. Any other discussion on this topic?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
I just want to ask Mr. Vincent a question. How much would it cost if we gave comparable raises like Conway gave to our police officers? How much more would that cost us?
And their increase was a $17,000 raise for all officers within the police department, so that is pretty significant.
300,000 plus, I would think, with the current staffing.
300,000
Yeah.
plus. I'm not sure how much does a police officer start. In Conway, it was 40 grand. I think we get a little bit more.
We're between 40 and 42,000 for certified and uncertified.
You know, the problem is that you gave us all this information, and we really don't know how much it was gonna cost us if we were to do something kind of unfair to tell us everybody else is giving raises. And then we have no idea how much a raise, if we possibly give a comparable raise to our employees, how much that would be. You know, I don't think it's fair what you did. But, well, because honestly, I've been saying it for the last 10 or 15 years, that the police officers here don't make enough money. And when I came down, I couldn't believe how much they did make. It's crazy. Put your vest on and run on every day and risk your life for pennies on the dollar. And you practically make Warren McDonald's. It's a shame and a disgrace. But I'd like to know how much it would cost. Because then if it's 6 mills, yeah, I'd love for it. Let's have something. That's the stuff that they need. An extra uniform shirt or a gun belt every 5 years. I'd rather have a nice significant raise. I mean, you go up north, and I know people don't care how they did it back up north. They make $100,000. It's fine. Uniforms, or awards, gift cards, parties.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think you're still gonna get an answer.
Can we put an answer?
Okay, are you okay with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just-
I'd like to read something from one of our employees Has nothing to do with what they're doing, but while they're working. My hope is that the council as a whole and the administration will start standing up for employees and not stop beating them down every day. It's very defeating and not anything that I want to be part of. The police department does not have a retention problem. The town has the retention problem, and it's not because people are not good employees or that they do not have good work ethics. It is because they know that no one is immune from the daily degradation and ridicule. Now, this came from one of our employees, happens to be a friend of mine, that's left or leaving. And I just feel like that this is a good time to mention, because this goes along with what Harry says. We're not going to be able to retain our emergency personnel unless we give them significant raises. But we also have to do the same for all of our employees. Maybe not the same level, because we've done that in the past. But if we don't pay people who are good workers, they're going to eventually, because they're raising a family, and they're eventually going to go somewhere else. The last statement that North Myrtle Beach stated, and I probably couldn't find it if I wanted to, but it's at the very end. We do not intend to lose valuable employees to other jurisdictions. I like that thought, and that I hate to raise taxes. And we've been told for 2 years that we should raise taxes, and we didn't do it. And now we're having to pay the price for what we didn't do in the past. And I'm guilty of that because I didn't want to raise taxes. I keep seeing that we have hospitality money, but you can't pay everything out of hospitality. And what happens when you have a hurricane in July? You don't have hospitality. So we need to be prudent. We have to kind of pay as we go. It's shocking that 60% of our salaries come from taxes. There are other things that the town does that generates money for taxes, but property tax only covering 60% of our payroll. That's sad. So I'm off my bandwagon. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Just a minute.
I need to make a motion for a recess, please.
Second, sorry, second. All in favor? Aye, it'll be 5 minutes. Please don't go anywhere.
This
Session,
conference
and,
will now
as
be
I
recorded.
recall, Ms. Fallon was going to ask a question or make a comment.
okay, this piece of paper that you gave me about sergeant and corporal's salaries, is this the current salaries that they're making? This piece of paper here,
That's the current salaries.
that's the current salaries. Do we have any patrolmen? Like, or is everybody a corporal?
Can I approach?
Yes, please.
Please.
So, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, could you repeat is
Okay.
everybody a corporal?
This piece of paper shows sergeant and corporal salaries.
Yes, ma'am.
And it doesn't say anything about patrolmen. Do we have any patrolmen, or is everybody a corporal, a sergeant, or a detective?
No, ma'am. We have patrol officers also. I'm not familiar with that specific document. So, we do have patrol officers as well. And usually the shifts were set up, to have 3 folks on per shift, a corporal and 2 officers, on each shift. And we've had some losses in retention, so we don't quite have that right now.
Okay, and my next question, I don't know, it's not directed to you personally, but the Myrtle Beach, City of Myrtle Beach gave a COLA, but it wasn't to every employee. They had a mark-off of if you made more than, and I'm just throwing this number out, if you made more than $80,000 a year, you didn't get it. It was trying to help the people that are not making enough money to go up. Now, with that said, could you save, and this is more of a question for us to talk about as a council, if the COLA is not across the board, can some of that money be placed to get the police officers frozen positions? I don't know if that would be enough, it's probably for budget. But I appreciate you.
No, thank you, ma'am. No, I've seen, when I was with the county, they did something very similar over the years, so I know.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say a reminder that we're in the motion discussing 6 versus 4 mills. That
Okay.
was pointed out to me as a refresher.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to answer Mr. Coleman's
Mr.
question.
Vincent, please.
We should,
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
Sorry.
we started officers at $43,000. To get to Conway at $57,000, it would cost us $251,000
It'll be $251,000.
to get us
And if
to,
we didn't give the 5% COLA, instead of giving them a raise, 5% COLA for the police alone is $110,230. So it would be $141,000 to give them a raise, a sustainable, competitive raise.
I think to phrase that, to match the Conway plan, it would require an additional, what was it, 150,000 above the COLA raise. I think that's how it would work out, right? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
And that sounds right.
Yeah.
Trying to do math in my head. I guess I just want to say, while we're just still discussing 4 mills versus 6 mills, I think the vast majority of the 105 cuts are reasonable cuts. And I don't think they really infringe on the employee, I don't want to say benefits, I don't mean it the term of benefits, but quality of work life, I guess. I think the training cuts that we've been talking about make sense from what I've heard from the Chief Nelson and from Interim Chief Davis. So I don't have any problem with them. Could we fool around a little bit with some awards and gifts for employee morale issues? I'd be okay with that, though I'm more interested in pay increases too. I do believe we have discussed peripherally a step pay and or merit pay system. There's no way we can work that in the budget. Mr. Vincent, I know you've alluded to that before. Can you just give us a couple of statements about where you want to go with that?
so you do have $15,000 in the budget to do a paid step plan study that could be conducted, started in the summer and bring it back to you in late fall.
And at this point, this budget that we're looking at right now includes what level of COLA for whom?
5% for all employees, full-time employees,
So it's from you down.
from me down.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right. Yeah, that's all I've got for now.
Mr.
Mr. Crackwell,
I think we're kind of aggressive, but since,
I want to know what's included.
well, okay, but since it was brought up, I don't know why anyone would pay for a pay study when it's basically public knowledge what everybody pays. All you have to do is ask the different municipalities how much they pay each job description and go from there. Yes, it takes time, but if you're paying 15 or 20,000 to do it, I don't know, it's a $15,000 or $20,000 that could be saved, in my opinion.
And Mr. Vincent, you and I spoke about that email I got from MASC. I assume everybody got it, but it included a compensation study and it had some of our neighbors and it had position by position. Is that enough to work on a merit pay or step pay system, or do we need more than that?
We need more than that because that information that the municipal association has is only as good as the localities that actually put the information in there. There's a lot of information that is missing from localities of our size. And also understand that we are losing our HR employee in less than a week. So in order to conduct that in-house it'd be impossible.
All right. Any other comments while we're discussing 4 mil versus 6 mil?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shaw,
if we would go ahead and do the case study, is that the case study as far as the step salary? Does that also include performance plan?
Really depends on what we're asking for. So I've heard from the council, both former council and this council said that we need a step plan. We also need to have a pay study. In my experience in other localities is that the study's going to give you what you should pay your employees within the region, which is usually very costly, but there's a hybrid somewhere in the middle to be competitive.
I understand that, but there may be a situation where every employee, there might be that one employee that should not get an automatic raise, and even in a step situation. It's their do we do performance plans, like once a year? Do the directors look at their employees and say, okay, you did this great, or you need more help with this, you need additional training? Is that anything that's
We do
conducted?
annual evaluations every
Okay.
October.
And are they ranked?
What do you mean by that?
Ranking mean, is your performance at excellent, satisfactory, unsatisfactory?
That would be included on the evaluation.
So if we went ahead and did this step study, which, are we gonna go ahead in this process and do a motion for the 5% and introduce the step study later in our budget?
right now, we're discussing 4 mills versus 6 mills.
Okay.
That is it.
All right,
That's
Sorry.
that's the motion that is on the table.
okay.
I asked some of that to, what is included, to make sure we know what's included in the budget, and we can still discuss item by item. Is there anything else on the 4 mil versus 6 mil question?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
I had not thought about this, but I kind of agree with Chris. If you look at $300,000, a 4 mil increase is $4 a month. A 6 mil increase is $6 a month. You go up to a $500,000 house, it's $750 a month for a 4 mil, and $10 a month for 6 mil. I think we're gonna get shot. We might as well get shot stepping up and going big. I just think it makes a lot of sense. Now that he's brought it up, so I want to say I'm in favor of it. It's not a huge difference in per month cost. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Shaw?
The motion is to determine whether we go up 4 to 6 mil. The only way I would go up to 6 mil is if it include getting the police officer's position unfrozen. So is there a way to do that? Because as it stands right now, I'm gonna vote no, unless we can have that money directed to the police department.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Watts?
David, I hate to bother you, but not you, David, the.
Interim Chief Davis?
Davis, he isn't here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, he did?
Well,
Can you respond just, I hate to recess. Didn't have to make a motion.
it's $84,000 per mil. We already.
No, I know that, but
Yeah.
what I was trying to figure out is, we're talking about unfreezing those two positions. I think we have a whole lot bigger problem than those two positions.
Okay.
We're down, what, now 5?
I'm not sure. I think the last number was.
It's gonna take us the rest of the year just to catch up.
I thought it was 7.
I think county command staff is 7.
7.
So police is down 7.
Yes.
Okay, I don't think we need to worry about those two frozen people, but that's my opinion.
Any other discussion on 4 mil versus 6 mil? Ms. Medina?
This is to go to 6
Yes.
mil.
Yes, this is to change, to clarify the motion once more. The mainstream plan right now includes a 4 mil property tax increase. The motion on the table is to change that to 6 mils.
Ms. Fallon,
No,
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
No,
Mr. Crecklaw,
No.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
I'm gonna vote no. Motion fails 4-3.
Surprise, surprise.
that's.
We don't need comments. Right. That's inappropriate,
Well, thank you.
and that's inappropriate.
You're welcome.
All right, we're gonna move on now. The presentation is done. I'll entertain any other motions.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman,
I make a motion to not have the grand opening of the pier, saving upwards of $90,000.
I second it.
all right, we have a motion to do away with the pier grand opening.
That is not part of this budget. Well,
That's already in the current.
it's already in the current budget.
Okay,
The money's already there.
Mr. Mayor,
so we would have to, outside of this budget review, we would have to redo that in a regular council meeting.
Yeah, I would say you could do it by resolution to redirect it.
Okay. All right, I think we've got to wait on that then and, well, see if we can get it in the agenda for this meeting. It's not yet published, the council meeting coming
So
up.
what's being proposed in this budget is 4 meals plus hospitality tax to include the 7 firefighters.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the mainstream plan right now,
Correct,
yes.
okay.
And part of that includes the $105,000 of reductions, which we can talk about those as well. So, but just to clarify then, the $90,000 grand opening, even though we discussed a lot of event stuff, I think that got kind of confused, what year it was coming out of. It's not that we're going ahead with that full, no matter what, that can be brought up at a regular council meeting as an amendment to the current budget. Correct?
Right.
Okay, we'll take it that way. Any other motions about what we have here today?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
I would like to make a motion. I know it's been mentioned, I'll make the motion that we have put the line item for the awards and gifts, at least the $30 gift card back into the budget somehow. And if we can't work it out, you can take it out of my salary. I don't know if that's appropriate, but the motion is to put that back in. Because we'll discuss why, discuss that, but the motion is to put the awards and gifts wherever it's included, the $30 gift card that we give at Thanksgiving, the little things that we're doing for our employees. I know you've got broken up along about 3 line items here.
Yeah, can you, to clarify the motion, can you tell us?
Clarify
is
what
it-
I'm asking to put back in. I want to take care of the employees.
It is,
And is it $30? I mean, I guess get that, let's get that down exactly.
Was it the one under administration?
yeah, it's under administration.
$3,100. Is that the one that gets Jerry? Is that in your budget to give those gift cards?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
gift cards, plus the 3,100 is gift cards plus awards. So if you're saying bring the gift cards back, then the number's less than the $3,100.
$2,600.
26.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we put at least the $2,600 for the employees back into the budget.
Second. Okay, we have a motion to eliminate a cut of $2,600 for employee gift cards. And we have a second. All in favor? Or, well, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead, way ahead. It's, yeah, got a little confused there for a second, sorry about that. Is there any other discussion on this item?
I have, since I sponsored the motion, I'll speak first if I could, Mr.
Go ahead.
Just guys with, especially as Mr. Coleman said and Miss Shawn said, the current conditions around the area and so forth, not being competitively compensated, for some reason, we have town employees that have stayed with us for a long time, even though there could have been opportunities offered to them. And I think it's because the small things that the residents of this town do for them to show appreciation. I saw guys out yesterday working up here in the town center with shovels, and it was hot, and those are hourly guys working a very labor-intense job. And I don't know, I've heard an awful lot of talk from the employees in town. I know it doesn't seem like much money, but that $30 means a lot when we're talking about taking it away. It meant something to them. It's just projecting our feeling for the staff and employees of this town. And I think we need to turn that around. And I think we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can, the small things, to get them to show our appreciation.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Stamey, I'd like to follow up on that, on Skip. With that, I don't think it's a make or break deal, but I think it is a suggestion from town that we do care a little bit about them. Here it is Thanksgiving or whatever it happens to be, a $30 gift card. It might not mean a whole lot to some people in this town, but some people it would mean a whole lot. Just to know that we appreciate them that little bit. I'm all about giving this. I'm sorry that other things didn't happen, but I am all about giving this. Thanks.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Crickwell?
I'd like to say it is a small amount of money that you shouldn't really take it away. It's something traditionally we've always done. I think we need to cut in some other areas, and it goes back to the 6 mil raise. I would have voted for it, but it seems that everybody's intent on keeping everything rather than making cuts. And we need to start making cuts. We really do. And it's not just these $1,000 here, $1,000 there. Yes, it adds up, but we need to look at our employees that we're hiring that we have never had before. It just adds to the cost, and it's not just the cost of the employee, everything. You add, if you had a $20,000 employee, it's probably at least 35 or 30 to 35,000 that it's costing you. And heavens knows we don't hire $20,000 employees.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Shawn?
Yes, this is a small amount of money, but if you go across the board and you start making cuts, I would rather have more money put in the employee's pocket and not necessarily the gift cards, the awards, the luncheons. So, for me to be an employee, a $25 or $30 gift card is not gonna make a difference.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
I'm not gonna nitpick on $2,600 for a few gift cards. Most important thing is getting this budget right. There's only a few of us on this dais who even suggested any kind of cuts. And then when we got some cuts, they complain about those cuts. The whole idea is why we're sitting up here is to make the hard decisions, ask the hard questions. If you want to give a gift card to somebody, all right, that's fine. But we did make 105,000 in cuts, which is a start. Could have been a lot more cuts. We didn't lay off anybody. We're just not rehiring some people. I wish we could hire. I would go for rehiring a couple of more police officers than some of the I think, silliness that we're doing. But I'll vote for the $2,600. But this council has to do better, in my opinion, on looking for cuts. And staff has to do better by looking at cuts. Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, I'm gonna add that, you know, 105,000 in cuts, which now goes down to about 102 plus, almost 103. It is a start. It's not a whole lot, but I do appreciate those that have looked into the budget and taken these amounts out. I've said it before that as a manager, I generated pretty goodwill by buying pizzas for guys. So you do find that you get used to your salary increase within a paycheck or two. So it does sometimes help with motivation to get something outside of that. And $2,600 in gift cards for our employees seems like a very small price to pay. I want to look in the future at opportunities to grow A and H tax potentially, not in this budget year. And that's why I don't want to further increase the millage at this point. That's really the sole reason that I did that. I want to see how this works out. We also have heard that we've got a few unfrozen police to hire before we look at, you know, unfreezing those positions. So I think we can do that within this current budget. And with that, I don't have anything else on this topic. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shaw?
are we gonna go through each department and put back in the awards and gifts?
Director Gruber will place it, $2,600 in awards as appropriate if we approve it.
Okay. But we're not gonna go through every department and chipping away at what we tried to save with tax cuts. This is gonna be the only awards?
Mr. Mayor, that was the motion on the
Yeah.
table, just to give the gift cards back. I
Right.
asked for all.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your,
I just didn't know if we're going through each department, because multiple departments have awards and gifts under it.
okay, no, this motion is $2,600 for the
I
gift
just wanted
cards
to make
only,
clear.
wherever that is appropriate. And I believe that's administration, yes. Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Krickle,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. All right, any other motions related to the budget?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shaw?
I motion the 5% COLA should be limited it shouldn't go across the board. In other words, I'm looking at so my motion would be that the 5% COLA should go to individuals making 60,000 or 65,000 or less.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion to limit COLA increase, which is currently at 5%, to employees making $65,000 or less. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
first question, there's two questions. One is, do we know how many employees that involves? That's gonna be a hard question. You may not be able to answer it. And then the second question is, what about the employees that make more than 65,000? Are you giving them nothing, or is it a different percentage? I understand your motion, but we do have employees that make more than that, and I feel like they have the same costs that we have.
Can I answer?
Yes.
You can, yeah, you have the floor again.
The reason why I'm leaning to this way, because Myrtle Beach did a case study. And before you say we're not Myrtle Beach, I understand that. But they took the time to do a salary case study. And what they found and what they could afford was to give the people that needed a salary increase. We do have employees making quite a bit more than $65,000 a year in this town. And I think it would be appropriate to allow those people to get raised up. And for the fact that it's just a way that, we haven't done a case study, we haven't done this town justice as a council to figure, just throw out 5%. 5% is really not a lot when you think about it. The people that are gonna benefit from that 5% that are making $100,000. The people that are making under 65 are not gonna benefit, just like Social Security. Just because they got multiple COLAs over the years, they're bringing home $2,000 a month. So I think we should try to help our employees that are not making as much and get them up above so they can live, a cost of living for the individuals that need it.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
can we ask Jerry if they've done any kind of study on this 5% increase for overall, or are y'all just shooting from the hip?
I'm almost 100% sure, well, I say 99% sure, we are behind the 8 ball when it comes to our salaries. Our staff, what we, for starting salary for police, public works, is way behind. 5% is just gonna catch us up. I can promise you, when you do your pay study and come back in late fall of this year, we're gonna narrow the gap with 5%. But we're not gonna surpass it. Typically, if you wanna give salary increases, and like Ms. Shawn had split it up, typically for 50,000 below is a protected class, and those are low salaries. You could give them a higher percentage, but the cost of living adjustment affects everybody above that as well. So you could do a 3 and a 2. But I would not say that the cost of living does not affect people above $65,000.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
according to what shows here for Myrtle Beach, they gave 5,000 for all other city staff. Well, at 65,000, that's a 7.7% increase. 80,000, it's a 6+% increase. 90,000, it's 4.5%. So they did give substantial increases to the additional people, because they gave X amount to first responders, X amount to paramedics, and 5,000 to everybody else. So it's certainly somebody making 5,000, a huge 10%, 11% increase. That's great. But the higher end also got increases. So, and I kind of agree with what she's saying. I think we need to have a step on our, that we give our lower level employees that make less money, give them a higher percentage increase and reduce increases as it goes up. I like the idea. I don't know how to do it, but I do like the idea.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Krecklau?
I'd just like to add that when I was working, one of the places I worked happened to be a town. And when you give a 5% pay raise and people are making the 100,000 plus, they're getting a $5,000 raise. When you're making 30,000, I don't know, do the math, I can't do it in my head right now. 1,500. There's a big difference, and it compounds itself every time you give a percentage pay raise, and it never really gets addressed, in my opinion. And that is one way to address it, but like Mr. Kinkin says, how do you go about doing it? Because I don't think we want to give, or we'd like to give, not that I wouldn't want to, but the lower end people, yes, they do need more, but we can't, because we are in a crunch, I think we need to limit it to 5%, but cut some of the higher ones back. Not cut it off completely, but a 2 or 3%. as you go up the scale, and I don't know how you do that, if you just have a cutoff point or have a sliding scale, but.
Miss-
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls.
how you do that is the way the other towns have done that, is that you give a flat amount. When you give a flat amount, that means a lot to the folks lower down, and then they're getting a higher percentage of that, right? The higher you go up, you give $5,000 to somebody like Jared. Just kidding. But it does, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean as much, but it's still nice. That's all I'm saying. That's how you overcome, same way Myrtle Beach, Conway, Horry County, they've all overcome it by giving a flat increase, which could affect different levels in different percentages, but you affect the same thing Sean's trying to accomplish.
I have a question. How many employees do we have right now?
Full-time,
Yes. How many are covered by this COLA? The 5% COLA, I guess that's maybe the best way to ask it.
I want to say 93, but let me look.
While you're looking, I'll just say if it's 93 and we do 3,000, it comes up to about the same number as the 281 here. And that would be a flat across the board to everybody. That would be one way to do it. Another would be higher percentage lower and lower percentage for people higher. But that starts to get,
Yeah.
it's harder to determine. They're gonna have to go back and calculate to determine what that costs. But I'm just trying to stay within this window of 281,000 that's already in this budget.
Yeah.
So I think that would be about 3,000 across the board. If it's 93, 93 times 3 should be 279.
Okay.
So. But while she's looking, I'll open the floor again. Mr. Coleman.
I totally agree. I think that the people in the lower scale need it a lot more than the people on the higher scale. And, be it $2,500 or $3,000 or whatever, it would be fair. This is, for this budget, so that doesn't mean it's gonna happen next year. It's not written in stone. We're a little bit, we're not in trouble, but we need to cut a little bit. So I think it's a better idea it's gonna cost the same amount, but it's gonna help other people a lot more. And, $3,000 at the end of the year, if I'm making 100,000, that's nice. It's nice. It'd be nicer to get 5,000, but 3,000 is nice. But if I was making 42,000 and I got $3,000, that's real nice.
Budgetarily, there's 84 full-time positions, which we have 2 frozen, and 13 part-time positions.
How are the part-time people included in this COLA? Same thing?
Okay.
So part-time, does the hours vary for part-timers?
Yes.
So we can't just do a blanket or what we could, but we could be really helping somebody who only
Typically, we
works.
do a one-time, say 5,000, part-time people get half.
Okay, even though they may work less than 20, more than 20?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Wow.
Are there any other comments on this issue?
So just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, how much are we talking about? I didn't hear a bottom line on what that would mean per employee if we took our budgeted amount and divided it out among the number of employees in your budget. What amount are we looking at for each employee? And part-time getting half-ish. I like that idea.
what amount across the board are you looking at?
Well, is it 3? Is it 2,500?
Looks like it comes out to about 270 some, I think. I'm doing this real rough.
No, I know, but the mayor's trying to come up with the number, but I'm just wondering, the guys that we're counting on for the numbers could give us a more realistic number of what we might be voting on.
Mayor can't add it. Multiply.
Well,
I didn't bring the calculator.
I don't trust him, he only spent 30 years.
272-ish.
Two,
Wait a minute.
Huh?
272-ish, it looks.
Okay.
That's 3,000, right?
Right. Okay, but 1,500 bucks. But yeah, we should stop our side meeting here, sorry.
Mhm.
While they're doing that, I'll just send a reminder, the motion right now is 5% COLA for all employees at 65,000 or below, and nothing for above. That's what we have on the table at this point.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shaw,
I would rescind my motion if we could do something like a flat rate across the board.
we could just amend the motion.
Amend it.
Yes, yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, the 83 employees plus part-time comes out to 262.
262, okay.
At 3,000.
Which will be a savings of the 5%, because the 5% was at 281, 280.
So roughly
So you're
almost
saying-
20,000.
Yes.
Okay.
So for clarification, Mr. Mayor, that's for 3,000 full-time,
That's what I was gonna
1,500 part-time? Is that what
Yeah,
you all were
it
basing that on?
includes full-time and part-time.
Good, but half rate for part-time.
Correct.
Okay, good, that's,
What is the, I mean, I know this is really getting into the weeds, but, I mean, do we have many part-time people working less than 20 hours?
No.
Okay, okay. I just didn't want, if there's somebody that really has low hours, that would be a huge increase. Even at half.
a month.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Cohen,
so this is gonna go into their hourly wage, right? So if they don't work it, they don't get it. They're not just getting a check for $3,000.
Correct.
That's correct.
So, right.
That's correct.
so we, in effect, changing our pay scale.
Yes.
Correct.
Which the 5% does too.
Right, right.
And
Just saying.
This gets the lower end, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kincaid,
it becomes effective
July.
July 1st,
July 1.
okay? So that puts money in people's pockets right away, okay?
And
Both
then,
of them do.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shawn,
if we can do this and then do the case study, it might be more beneficial for the employees. If we do this by, let's do it smarter instead of faster, in my opinion, with money. Not saying that we're not going to do the case study. I would really encourage the case study. So we could get our employees up to where they need to be.
This helps close the gap. That's correct.
all right. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sammy,
with that being said, Jerry, when these other across the counties give their increases, will that put us in par with what they're doing? Or will they go back way ahead of us again?
They're still way ahead of us.
I'm saying after they give theirs, after we give this a little bit to them, is it still gonna be way out in left field?
My understanding is with Myrtle Beach, where the police officer pay is about $19,000 off. So this helps close the gap. And I agree with Mr. Recklaw, we're never ever gonna catch up with Horry County, North Myrtle Beach.
No, sir.
Beach or Conway.
We're a very small town and we don't have the revenue coming in that they have coming in. And most people coming here understand that. A lot of them use the Surfside as a stepping stone to move on for bigger salaries. But we still have to be in the competitive neighborhood
We have to be,
of attracting people and trying to keep people.
yes, sir.
any other comment? Okay, we are still entertaining a motion for 5% COLA limited to employees at 65,000 or less and nothing for above. So we either vote on that or we need to amend the motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Krakow,
I'd like to amend the motion to change it to $3,000 for the full-time employees and $1,500 for the part-time employees across the board, instead, in lieu of the 5%.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We've been kind of discussing this ahead of time. Is there any other discussion? All right, then I think we can move to vote. Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Krecklow,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. So the mainstream plan now is to have a $3,000 flat increase for all employees, all full-time employees, and a $1,500 increase for all part-time employees. Are there any other motions related to this budget? Going once? All right, with that, we are moving into public comment. And with that, we move toward adjournment. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Mayor.
Well, that's the direction they gave us before. So that would be the first reading of the budget. Mhm.
Okay. So council's in agreement that the budget's gonna be advertised first reading for 4 meals plus the hospitality tax, and then with these motions.
Yeah, there's been no other motions brought forward.
Is that the right way of doing it? Is that, or do we have to make a motion on approving this budget as amended right now?
Well, we just made motions to give them direction, and they'll bring it in a reading. We have to do 2 readings now.
We'll have to do.
That's where we are. Yeah, we don't have a budget yet. I don't want to imply that. We are ready to move to first reading. That's all we're doing. And motions can be made at that point. I want to get more hammered out, before we get there, but that still can happen.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Better than-